Every year on February 2nd, the United States observes a rather peculiar holiday, Groundhog Day. This tradition, rooted in German folklore, revolves around a groundhog named Punxsutawney Phil. Phil resides in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. He is considered the world's most famous weather-predicting groundhog. On Groundhog Day, at the break of dawn, Phil emerges from his burrow. The world eagerly awaits his prediction. If Phil sees his shadow, it signifies 6 more weeks of winter. If he doesn't see his shadow, it means spring will arrive early. The event is a media spectacle. Thousands of people gather in Punxsutawney, millions more watch the live broadcast. It's a lighthearted tradition that many find charming. Groundhog Day offers a moment of collective anticipation. It's a fun way to imagine we can predict the unpredictable, the weather. This year, on February 2nd, 2025, Punxsutawney Phil emerged from his burrow. All eyes were on the furry forecaster. The tension was palpable. Would we have an early spring or 6 more weeks of winter? Phil looked around. He blinked in the morning light. Then, the moment of truth arrived. Phil saw his shadow. The crowd gasped. Winter, it seemed, was not ready to release its icy grip. The prediction of 6 more weeks of winter sent a ripple of reactions across the country. Some welcomed the news, embracing the chance for more cozy days by the fireplace. Others, dreaming of warmer weather, were disappointed. Regardless of personal feelings, one thing was certain: Punxsutawney Phil had spoken. His prediction, based on the age-old tradition of shadow watching, set the stage for the weeks to come. While Punxsutawney Phil's predictions are steeped in tradition and folklore, the scientific community views them with a healthy dose of skepticism. Meteorologists, who rely on sophisticated data and technology to forecast weather patterns, point out the inherent randomness of nature. Weather is a complex system. It is influenced by countless factors. These factors include atmospheric pressure, temperature, humidity, and wind patterns. Predicting something as variable as the weather weeks in advance based solely on a groundhog's shadow is not scientifically sound. Scientific weather forecasting involves analyzing vast amounts of data. This data is collected from satellites, weather balloons, and ground stations. Meteorologists use advanced computer models to simulate atmospheric conditions. This allows them to make more accurate predictions. While Groundhog Day offers a fun and whimsical tradition, it's important to remember that Phil's predictions are not based on scientific evidence. Phil's track record: a mixed bag of predictions. Punxsutawney Phil has been making predictions since the late 1800s. His track record, however, is far from perfect. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, Phil's accuracy rate since 2005 hovers around a modest 35%. There have been years when Phil's predictions aligned with actual weather patterns. In 2024, for example, Phil predicted an early spring. This prediction turned out to be accurate. February 2024 was the 3rd warmest on record for the contiguous United States. March also experienced above-average temperatures. However, there have also been numerous instances where Phil's predictions have missed the mark. These misses highlight the limitations of using a groundhog shadow as a reliable indicator of long-term weather patterns. It's important to note that the accuracy of Phil's predictions is a matter of ongoing debate. The Punxsutawney Groundhog Club claims a much higher accuracy rate. They base this claim on their own records. Despite the debate surrounding his accuracy, one thing is undeniable: Punxsutawney Phil remains a beloved figure. His annual predictions continue to capture the public's imagination. Weather forecasters weigh in. What does science say? While Punxsutawney Phil's prediction grabbed headlines, the National Weather Service's Climate Prediction Center offered a more data-driven outlook for February and early spring 2025. Their forecasts, based on scientific analysis, painted a mixed picture for the coming weeks. The Climate Prediction Center anticipated above-average temperatures in parts of the Rockies, South, and East. This suggested the possibility of an early spring for those regions. However, below-average temperatures were expected from the Pacific Northwest into the Midwest, potentially prolonging winter's chill. These contrasting trends were predicted to persist into early spring, through April. The Climate Prediction Center emphasized that their forecasts were based on probabilities, not certainties. Weather, by its very nature, is unpredictable. The National Weather Service's forecasts underscored the complexity of predicting weather patterns, while Punxsutawney Phil's prediction offered a simple, albeit unscientific outlook. the Climate Prediction Center's forecasts provided a more nuanced and data-driven perspective. A tale of two winters, contrasting conditions across the U.S. The winter of 2024 to 2025 has been a study in contrasts across the United States. The eastern part of the country experienced a bitterly cold winter, with record-breaking low temperatures and significant snowfall. The western U.S., in stark contrast, enjoyed a milder winter, with above-average temperatures and less precipitation. The eastern U.S. faced the brunt of winter's fury. The presidential inauguration was the coldest in 40 years. A historic snowstorm even impacted the Gulf Coast, an unusual occurrence. Dozens of cities east of the Mississippi River experienced one of their top 10 coldest winters on record. Meanwhile, the West experienced a completely different winter. Following the warmest fall on record for the contiguous U.S., the warm trend continued into the winter months. Cities like Phoenix, Las Vegas, and San Francisco enjoyed one of their top 10 warmest winters on record. These contrasting conditions highlighted the regional variations in weather patterns. They also underscored the challenges of making long-term weather predictions for an entire country, especially based on a single event like Groundhog Day. Climate change, shifting seasons, and uncertain forecasts. As the world continues to grapple with the effects of climate change, winter, as we know it, is changing. The season is warming at a faster rate than any other season in most parts of the United States. This warming trend is attributed to the increasing concentrations of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, primarily from human activities like burning fossil fuels. Warmer winters have implications beyond just milder temperatures. They can disrupt ecosystems, impact agriculture, and increase the likelihood of extreme weather events. The changing climate also poses challenges for weather forecasting, as traditional models are based on historical data that may no longer be representative of current or future conditions. Punxsutawney Phil's prediction of 6 more weeks of winter, while rooted in tradition, seems increasingly at odds with the reality of a warming world. As climate change continues to alter weather patterns, it remains to be seen how this iconic groundhog's predictions will fare in the years to come.